Hey guys, what's good? It's the Tominator coming at you with some Arnold Classic action. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on the top two call-out between Steve Kuclo and Nick Walker. This was the final call-out, and the judges separated these two out from the rest of the lineup, indicating that they are indeed, at least in this point in time, the top two bodybuilders in this contest. So right off the bat, I gotta say I'm kind of surprised that they singled out Kuclo for this. I didn't think he was that much better than other guys like Ian Valliere, Justin Rodriguez, or Sergio Oliva Jr. To me, the clear-cut winner is Nick Walker. Unless he falls apart in the finals or somebody else really improves, Nick has got this in the bag. Steve won a couple poses, but overall, he just didn't have enough separation or conditioning compared to Nick, and I think that's going to hurt him. But let's go through the mandatories, and I'll give you guys my take. In the front double biceps, Walker wins this. His biceps are bigger, and he's just showing more detail through the entire upper body. Steve has perhaps a nicer, more symmetrical physique, but Walker packs a ton of raw mass and is more defined, and those are the main things the judges seem to look for when crowning a champion. I will say, however, that I'm not a huge fan of his physique. I think those calves with all the veins running through them are absolutely disgusting and not in a good way, and his quads, while very grainy and vascular, lack sweep and don't have the most pleasing shape. So the point here is that I'm not a fanboy of Nick by any means, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be biased against him either. The flexed abs and all that detail he's showing through the midsection and serratus is totally outdoing Kuclo here, plus the biceps, as we already mentioned, cannot be overlooked. But in the front lat spread, this one goes to Steve. This is probably his most convincing win too, since Walker looks weird and disproportionate. His abdomen is way too long, the chest is too small, the arms are too short. Walker has a very odd structure, and it really hurts him in poses like the lat spreads, which are primarily about showing off your structure. That said, Kuclo isn't exactly crushing it either. They both are majorly lacking here in terms of lat sweep and taper, but overall I think Steve hits the shot better and looks more balanced in it. In the side chest though, that lower body of Nick is going to prove to be too much. His conditioning is much better than Kuclo's there in the side leg. You might even say Steve has the better chest. Certainly that far pec with all those striations is excellent, and his chest is larger top to bottom. The shoulders look great too, but in terms of the whole body, Nick is better. Not only downstairs, but look up top with all the fullness through the arms and that far triceps belly jutting out, very impressive looking. I give this one to Walker, but it's not a blowout. When they turn around here, though, this next pose is a blowout. Steve Kuclo's biggest weakness has always been his back. He just has never been able to bring that up, and he still lacks detail down the center, and just doesn't have enough depth or that 3D look that you really value in a top pro. The delts are awesome, though, and the arms and legs aren't bad, but the back itself lets him down. Nick just has so much more going on there through the lats and traps, and his shoulders are pretty much matching Steve's, not to mention once again his biceps are much better and more peaked. He also wins from the waist down, with the more defined hamstrings and glutes. Heck, even the calves are more defined, although Steve's are a little bigger, but this one's not even close. The rear lat spread is a lot closer though, since both of these guys don't exactly have the best V tapers. I actually think Kuclo is presenting his back better here, since Nick is rounding his shoulders forward too much. Just look at the angle of his arms. It looks a little strange and is probably actually detracting slightly from his overall width, so I gotta question that posing decision. But even so, the lower body still goes to Nick, and I think it's close enough up top that he secures the win here too. Not to mention, Kuclo's back is way too smooth. But for what it's worth, I think a wider guy like Justin Rodriguez would probably kick both their asses in this pose. Anyway, moving on to the side triceps. So this one might raise some eyebrows, but I actually give it to Steve. I'm sure opinions will be mixed here because Walker's got a really good side tri also, but I just feel that Kuclo really nails this one. The way he twists makes him appear bigger, and his triceps and shoulders really look amazing here. He's keeping the stomach tight, and even the legs are comparing more favorably to Nick's now from this angle. That said, Walker is still thicker and more diced, especially through the thighs, and his triceps are very well developed in their own right. I just feel he looks a tad too blocky here, whereas Steve looks more aesthetic while still being massive. Kuclo also shows greater versatility, being able to hit the front-facing side try just as effectively. So for me, that can function as sort of a tiebreaker when the pose is very close like this. Nick's stomach also looks too thick. It should be a little more sunken if he's going to stand directly sideways like that. So the ab and thigh is actually closer than I thought upon first glance. I think maybe Steve faded a little bit at the second round because they made him repeat all the poses again. But anyway, here he's maintaining good definition through the midsection. But Nick's just got those big, blocky abs. It almost looks fake, like they were ab implants or something, because it's basically a picture-perfect six-pack, yet his waist is rather wide, so it's a bit of an odd combination. But he's definitely got the thicker abdominal muscles, plus the more conditioned lower half, so I would give him the edge in this pose. And lastly, in the most muscular, I mean, it's tough to argue against either of them, really. On the one hand, Kuclo has the bigger frame and is therefore technically more muscular. On the other hand, Nick has completely maxed out his smaller frame and shows all kinds of roundness and hard, grainy mass. Personally, it's Steve for me because he just crushes that crab and the hands on hip in a way that I don't think Walker can quite match. He just looks too huge in these shots, and when we're talking about a pose called the most muscular, pure size should be paramount. But again, it's not by a large margin whatsoever. The only pose that I feel Steve conclusively won was the front lat spread. Everything else was debatable. Whereas Walker, I think, fairly comfortably claimed the front double and side chest and absolutely owned the back double biceps. In the end, I had him winning 5-3, but this is actually even more lopsided than that because when we're talking about conditioning, separation, density, completeness, Walker comes out on top in all these aspects. Like I said, I'm not even sure why they felt the need to separate out Steve from the rest of the pack. Don't get me wrong, I love watching head-to-head showdowns like this, but if I was judging this thing, I would have kept it as a top 4 or 5. And I probably would have bumped Sergio up into the mix and left Akeem in the second call-out because his conditioning just wasn't where it needed to be this time around. Anyway, that's all for this one, guys. Stay tuned for the finals, and I'll also get around to covering the Classic Physique division as well, although that'll probably not be till later tomorrow since the open class is top priority. But thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Tominator signing out.